Demon Slayer got a huge patch that affected every character in the game. Now, some characters were affected in a big way, while others, well, I guess they had to write something. I've been following this game since launch. I've kept up with every update and DLC, and I've been making and updating tier lists during all of that time. And because I know how this usually goes, before we start, let's get a quick disclaimer out of the way. All tier lists are subjective, and this tier list, for as much as experience as I have with the game, will be wrong for some players. I think my knowledge and skill will speak for themselves though, so if you, for whatever reason, disagree with this tier list, if you dare to disagree with this tier list, I bet that's a good take, to be honest. Yeah, I got nothing against it. Like every tier list ever made, the easiest spots to fill are the top and the bottom. The best characters in the game are the easiest ones to spot, and the worst characters in the game are the hardest ones to spot because no one picks them. It's not until you get into that middle section that things really get rough. And if you remember my tier list before this patch, you'll already notice a very big difference. The entire D tier is gone. Every character that was down there got significantly buffed, so they climbed higher than D tier, and no one got nerfed enough to drop below C tier for me, so there's no more D tier in my opinion. Which is why I've said it before, and I'll say it again, this was a very good balance patch. So with all that said, let's do a very dumb thing as a YouTuber, and let's start with the top 3 characters in the game. I should probably leave them until the end to increase the watch time. Oh well, it's too late now. I feel like this patch is so obvious. Susamoto, Edie, Zenitsu, and Akaza are all a level above everyone else. And Susamoto is the new #1 character of Demon Slayer thanks to that guard skill buff. Yes, she got a big damage nerf, but being safer when throwing out the guard skill is too big of a change for her. So Susamoto is the new #1 character in Demon Slayer. Similarly, Edie Zenitsu also got a damage nerf, but getting a level 3 dash speed was all this character needed for a big bump in the tier list. And finally, Akaza did lose the #1 spot thanks to the nerf to the air types, and well, the buffs that the other characters got. But this nerf is not nearly enough to make this character drop a full tier. He still has the same tools, he just gets a smaller reward if he starts a combo with projectiles. Those are the top 3. Those characters are above everyone else. So from the top, let's plunge all the way down and fill up this C tier. Now yes, I did put Yahaba as the worst character in the game, but hear me out. I'll be the first one to say that I don't know how to play Yahaba. Not really. And I'll also be the first one to say that I'm very scared to go up against a very good Yahaba. He's still one of the characters that forces you to change your playstyle the most. And if a player doesn't know how to go up against Yahaba, you can totally destroy them with his character. That said, he can't jump as high anymore, and he travels less distance when he's using his skills. All of that is going to make him easier to catch, and if he's easier to catch, he's just easier to defeat. That's about it. But I wouldn't say he's necessarily any worse than any of the characters in this tier. Sakonji, for instance, he was already very mid, but now with the nerf traps, he dropped a tier. I don't understand this change at all. On the other hand, I kept Inosuke down there even though he got buffed. Inosuke is safer after doing Boar Rush, which was a much needed change, but that does absolutely nothing for his neutral flaws, and he can still get parried on a lot of his skills. So yeah, I decided to keep him down there. The bottom tier is always, in every single tier list video, the most controversial one. So get it out of your system, type it out in the comments. I can take it. Let's move on to the B tier. Now, I tried ordering these characters as best as I could, but the truth is, the order kinda doesn't matter. These characters are pretty similar in strength in my opinion. If you want to argue that, no, this one should be in front of this one, I don't care. Rengoku is still very unsafe. Nothing changed with him. Honestly, the patch notes are just funny to me. They buffed his grab damage by 50. Now that's just funny. Awakened Nezuko climbed a lot in my tier list. The fact that she can now deal damage without spending demon bars is huge. Nezuko now destroys your health bar every time she touches you. It's just that her neutral is still pretty bad and she has no skills that are safe on blocks. So you block and punish. That's the game plan. Yushiro also got a massive buff to his guard skill. His neutral game was already good, but now it's even better. He still lacks the damage and he really struggles against other demons, but he's a solid pick against most Slayer teams. I wish I could just fuse these two together. Give Nezuko the Yushiro neutral and give Yushiro the Nezuko damage. Then you'd have the perfect character. Oh wait, that's just Akaza from before this patch. Never mind. Sabito got a wall of changes in his patch notes, but you know what? None of this matters. None of this changes the way you play him. Except for one little line. Movement speed buffed. That's right. He's got a level 2 dash speed right now. He's faster, which means he's got a lot better neutral, and a buff to dash speed is always a big deal, which is why I've made him climb from D tier all the way to B. And the reason he doesn't climb any higher is because, well, the rest, he feels more consistent consistent, I guess, but it didn't change as much as you'd expect with this wall of patch notes. Makomo finally doesn't drop combos anymore, except she still does. It's just harder to drop combos, so good changes, I guess. She got a very decent buff, she's a lot more reliable, she's got better damage, and her neutral is still good. So I feel like this is a nice place for her, considering the low damage she has and pretty much no guard pressure. Enmu is the character that I always struggle to place him. If Enmu gets in, he's one of the scariest characters in the game. I think he still has the best resets out of the entire cast, not only because they're hard to dodge, but also because the reward is insane. He deals so much damage, but he cannot get in on most of the roster, and the nerf has made it a lot worse. They buffed his damage from the unblockable, sure, but if you can't get in, what good is the damage? So I decided to drop him to B tier this time around. And finally, Rui. I pretty much kept him in the same place. He's just there, looking around him, seeing all of his mates climb and drop down on the tier list, while he's holding a participation trophy that says, I got a balanced patch too, I guess. A tier is, as usual, the most popular in the Demon Slayer tier list, and we start with Shinobu, who got the biggest climb in my tier list. She was a D tier in the previous video. That's how much she climbed. In my opinion, this was the biggest buff that the patch had. Absolutely massive damage buff, thanks to her being able to cancel the guard skill, and she builds a lot more special meter, which means she can be the meter expensive character that she wants to be, because she'll now have boost and surge a lot more often too. Murata, on the other hand, is pretty much the same. I didn't move him at all since last time. He's one of the best assists in the game. It just sucks if you have to play as Murata, so it feels like he makes you not want to switch characters as Slayers, which is a bad thing. But the assist is just that good to put him on A tier. Daki actually got no significant changes either, but I bumped her up a tier. I think I just changed my mind. Ed Inosuke, Ed Tanjiro, and Gyutaro didn't really change this patch, so I kept them in the same place. Tanjiro got a small damage buff with his DP, I guess, but that doesn't really change much for the character. They're all really solid, and if you pair up these Slayers well, you'll get yourself an S tier Slayer team, 100%. I still think people are sleeping on Ed Inosuke, by the way. Yeah, his dash speed sucks, but he's got the only armored assist in the game. He gives you guard breaks to anyone that needs them, and those unblockable setups are flawed, but still pretty good. And finally, Water Tanjiro climbed a little bit, but stayed on the same tier because the Whirlpool is now a lot safer, which means Tanjiro can kind of just throw it now. So he climbed a little bit, and that was enough to make it to the top of A tier for me. And let's wrap up this video with the S tier folks, as we welcome Gyu and Tengen to the top of the food chain, but not before we talk about the Nezuko nerf. No more inescapable guard skill into ultimate. This is a big deal. That said, it was a situational option that happened quite a lot, but that doesn't really change the rest of the character as a whole, so to me the character is mostly the same, just can't get away with a dumb thing. And like the heal bash nerf mentioned in the patch notes, I maybe saw it once. I don't know, it doesn't feel that different to me, so Nezuko didn't change much. She's gonna stay in my S tier. Now with Tengen, his buffs do not justify him climbing a full tier at all. His rising kick is safer, but he was A tier in my last video. Rising kick did not raise him all the way up to S tier. The reason I put him here now is because I think his assist is even better than I initially thought. And this character started shining a lot more thanks to the Ed Zenitsu buff. These two together are an absolute menace. They make each other stronger, and for that reason I think Tengen climbs to S tier. Gyu, on the other hand, got some massive buffs that make him an S tier character. I think being able to save meter in a lot of his combos with Water Dragon is great. I think the window for dead calm is insane now. It's really good. But more importantly, dash speed level 2, baby. Gyu can actually get close enough now to play that water wheel neutral that he likes to do so much. He's an absolute threat. And the final two characters are pretty much the same. Both Hinokami Tanjiro and Zenitsu were already S tier characters. Hinokami got buffed. His guard break skill now starts a yellow combo, and that's really good for him. And Zenitsu got his grab recovery nerf, but it's not like he has a bad grab now. It's just a bit more fair. That said, I think the buff to Tanjiro and the nerf to Zenitsu is not enough to make these two characters swap places. So that's what my tier list looks like right now. Now, I know a lot of you guys have been asking for this tier list update, so I hope this has made you guys happy. I put a lot of thought into this, and I mean, if you've been following the channel, you've seen me try all the different characters that got changed. And if you've missed those videos, I highly recommend starting with this one, which was the last one I did, the new Yushiro. Don't worry, at the end of each video, you'll get another one suggested. So thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.